With the new 991 generation Porsche 911 GT2 RS nearly upon us, here's the time we took 2007's GT2, and pitted it against some in-house competition, the GT3 and Turbo. So I'm doing a fast lap in a Ferrari 599, says Walter ROHRL. We had one in for benchmarking purposes. I saw a car up ahead and thought I'd catch him. As I got closer, I could see it was another 599. He was oversteering, and then he ran wide into Galbankov, and I passed him. Anyway, as I was cooling down, this other 599 pulled level with me, the window went down, and the driver said, "You beat me round here in a Ferrari." It was Michael Schumacher. ROHRL unfolds his almost comically long arms and laughs. No doubt about it, he is the reigning king of the ring. For the record, he did a 7M59s in the 599. Which is effing quick. But Porsche's chief test driver is not here today to talk Ferrari. Today is about the new GT2, the most powerful road-going 911 ever. It has 523 bhp, 501 pounds-ft of torque, accelerates from 0-62 mph in 3.7 seconds, to 100 mph in 7.4, and tops out at 204 mph, the first 911 to pass 200 mph. It costs £131,070, and Porsche reckons the GT2 is the most highly evolved 911 yet. Walter drove it round the Nordschleifen 7M32s. "I passed 11 cars while I set that time," he says, folding his arms again. ROHRL, as anyone who's had the privilege of sitting beside him in a car will attest, is a bit special. With robotic precision and zero apparent effort, he makes cars go enormously fast. But he's also utterly devoid of vanity, he just gets on with the job. There's a lesson there for all of us. The 911's a bit like that too. BMW's marketing bods may have coined the line, but here surely is the ultimate driving machine. 40-odd years since it arrived, and 20 since yuppie adulation nearly finished it off, the 911 fetches up at the tail end of 2007 as the best performance car in the world. Over to you interbloggers. The trickier question is, which one? The car RS is lovely, and pretty good value too, but not quite special enough. Turbo Cabriolet? Call the taste police someone, please. So really it's between the Turbo, the GT3 and now the GT2. The newest addition is rear-wheel drive and is twin-turbocharged, but is it a more interactive turbo or simply a wildly powerful GT3? As we're about to discover, the differences between them are more profound than you might imagine. For a road car, the GT2 is astonishing. Porsche and Ferrari are currently locked in a battle for engineering supremacy, but this car, and the 430 Scuderia, confirm that the goalposts have now been moved so far, you need a telescope to see them. It uses the same bodyshell and 3.6-liter horizontally opposed engine as the Turbo, but beyond that, the detail gets very detailed indeed. Most of the effort has gone on optimizing the turbocharging tech. Anyone who's experienced the regular turbos responds, "It's like being kicked in the back by the world's angriest donkey," will wonder what could possibly be improved. Lots, apparently. As before, there's a pair of turbochargers, but there's a bigger compressor wheel, and reprofiled rotor blades improve airflow to the turbine. Look closely at the base of the GT2's artful rear wing, and you'll notice two ram-charged air intakes that force more air in at a higher pressure. The turbos operate at a maximum charge pressure of 1.4 bar, 0.4 more than the existing turbo. Then there's the new intake system, which uses cooler expanding air rather than hotter compressed air to ignite the fuel-air mixture, which optimizes the process. Porsche claims this is a world first. under pressure, overpressure, resonance, oscillation, it's all going on in the ear, but the upshot of this mechanical voodoo is 523 bhp at 6,500 rpms, 501 pounds-ft of torque delivered consistently between 2,200 and 4,500 rpms. The regular turbo with the optional sports chrono fitted delivers 501 pounds-ft but only on Knight Rider style temporary overboost, as well as improved efficiency and fuel economy, a combined average of 22.6 mpg. This fancy intake setup is matched by an equally impressive exhaust system. The silencer and pipes are made of titanium. Why? Because it's more durable, allows for better heat dissipation, and is 50% lighter than stainless steel. The GT2 uses dry sump lubrication, and there's a limited slip diff offering moderate lockup. Given that traction, even in a 911 this powerful, isn't likely to be a problem. In the dry, at least. At 1,440 kilograms, it's 145 kilograms lighter overall than the turbo, largely due to the removal of the front drive train, an aluminium rear subframe, and the standard fitment of Porsche's ceramic brakes. There are also carbon fiber race seats. There are lots of subtle bodywork refinements. The front spoiler is unique to the GT2, funneling air to 3 radiators, and there's even an extra cooler for the gearbox oil. The intakes in the rear wheel arches keep the intercoolers happy, while the new slats around the rear end help dissipate heat from the engine and exhaust. Experts in aero and thermodynamics would have a field day with this car. Suffice to say that the drag coefficient has been reduced to 0.32, and Porsche makes big claims for the amount of downforce generated on the front and rear axles. A 200 mph Porsche with a wandering front end would be as much use as a chocolate sunbed, after all. In the arcane world of the 911 fancier, the GT2 is known as the Widowmaker. Even the presence of a world-class stability system, more of which later, can't dispel the mythology that clings to this thing. Though it's fairly standard 997 inside, Alcantara trim, body color seatbelts, no rear seats, the 997-era GT2 still inspires shock and awe. Twin turbos, rear drive, 523 bhp, semi-slick Michelin Pilot Sport Cups. The words leave little vapor trails as they whoosh around your brain. And that's not all. Before you get into something this potent, on tires this uncompromising, you find yourself watching the skies for brooding cloud formations, like some sort of medieval soothsayer. The bottom line is, I'm nervous. But as our convoy bumbles its way out of the car park, the jitters evaporate. The previous GT2 would tramline on a glass-top billiard table, but the new one is incredibly well behaved. Porsche's active damping system has been recalibrated for extra firmness in normal mode, but over the sort of ridges that would have bounced its predecessor into a field, the new car is compliant and easy to manage. Given the forces at work, the controls are also a dawdle to use. The clutch is easy, the brakes nicely modulated, the gearshift demanding but not difficult. The GT2's final drive ratio is the same as the turbos and GT3's, and the 3 contenders quickly settle into a relaxed lope through the countryside. So much for the Widowmaker. Then I get bored, drop it into second gear and nail the throttle. Good God! Keep it nailed and 2 things are immediately apparent. The GT2 will outpace your brain's ability to keep up with it, and you seem to be absolutely monstering your way through the gearbox. Second and third, in particular, don't appear to last very long at all, a suspicion that's not helped by the little upshift indicator in the rev counter which strobes away as manically as a light in a 70s Manhattan disco. Of course, it's a subjective impression. The truth is, this thing is just very fast indeed. The regular turbo will tackle corners at a speed that defies belief. It's so good, so competent, that it's almost a bit boring. Boredom is not an emotion you will even vaguely encounter in the GT2 when you reach a corner. Like its less incendiary brothers, it now has Porsche's stability management system, which monitors vertical and lateral loads, traction, and brake force distribution. On this car, you are invited to disable it in 3 stages, but it's so well calibrated, you'd have to be nuts to drive without it on the road. Even in damp conditions, the GT2 is obscenely good. Perhaps too intimidating for any adjustability, but who adjusts a 523 bhp 911? Conclusion? This is the classic 911 experience on fast-forward, ultra-high performance, Herculean traction out of corners, immense brakes. It's a supreme engineering achievement. It's Carrera GT fast but much better behaved. It should be the one. But it isn't. The GT3 is. And it's fantastically instructive to drive them side by side. No kidding, 20 seconds in the cheaper, less powerful car is all it takes to convince. After 30 minutes, it starts getting sort of spiritual. The GT3 is very special indeed. On this unfamiliar road, the GT3 is so good it's slightly spooky. Brake, steer, change gear, accelerate. It breaks the process down into such clear, simple but devastatingly effective chunks that it's almost easy. Like Hendrix on the guitar or Miles Davis on the horn, there's an instinctive genius at work here. On which musical note, it also sounds much better than the GT2 or Turbo. Forced induction is fun in a whooshy sort of way, and few things whoosh like a GT2. But the normally aspirated GT3 revs from 4,000 RPMs to a Wagnerian climax. It's also more linear despite all of Porsche's best efforts. The GT2 still suffers from some lag. Not much, admittedly, but you have to time your inputs carefully nonetheless. The GT3 just goes, gives you exactly the right amount to work with and against. Assuming you buy into the basic 911 credo, the propulsive rear end, the absence of weight at the front, then this is the best. Okay, it's not as fast as the GT2, but 60 mph in 4.3 seconds and 192 mph all out is the sort of not as fast you can live with. So, does that leave the Turbo somewhere in between, the perfect solution? As the everyday proposition it was designed to be, yes. Its wet weather pace is extraordinary, and it has more grip than you will know what to do with. As an exercise in technical brilliance, it's difficult to fault. But you have to drive it like an absolute lunatic to really feel it, and no matter how fast you go round a corner or how late you brake, it'll cope. It's almost inhuman but, yes, probably the ultimate driving machine. The ultimate 911, on the other hand, is the one that remembers to put the driver center stage, and it's the GT3.